George's wife, who's going to give us the latest details.
Thank you for inviting me.
So the first question I really wanted to ask you, as I know you've been dealing with a lot in the last couple months, is you've kind of gotten into the middle of the news here by supporting your husband, George Papadopoulos, who's been under scrutiny by the FBI and the Mueller investigation and probe. I'm curious as to how does it feel, to be in the spotlight now after supporting your husband like that?
Well, it's very stressing because apparently I am in the spotlight, but from the wrong angle. I've been very supportive and I would say unconditionally supportive, but unfortunately I've been perceived by the majority of people, mostly on Twitter, and as a sort of Russian agent acting with an agenda. Now, of course, I'm not an agent, and of course, I'm not Russian. Mostly, why I will not be an Italian agent eventually. I feel a lot of pressure, mainly because I jumped into the story with my best intention and genuinely, without an agenda, without taking any advantage of the situation. And in the attempt to save George's reputation, I destroyed mine.
So tell us about this Joseph Misfud guy who is basically one of the key reasons that got you involved with the Mueller probe and investigation. Tell us how that all started.
Well, I met Joseph Mifsud for the first time probably 5-6 years ago at the European Parliament, while I was working as an administrator of a parliamentary committee for the European Union. He was introduced to me by Gianni Pittella, an eminent political figure in Europe. He used to be the president of the socialist group for all Europe, not only for my country. And Mifsud used to attend all of his events and organize political events with Gianni Pittella. I've seen him in Brussels, I've seen him in Rome. He was professor also at the Link campus. So I occasionally meet Mifsud during those years because of his political connection, and I was working in politics. So that's my perception. Mifsud has always been of a lobbyist, somebody who network people at very high level, most than instead than an academic, purely speaking. Today, of course, I read his position even differently. I connected the dot with information I had, and new information recently came out. He apparently became the origin of the Russia probe. To me, it makes no sense because I don't see any connection of Mifsud to Russia. In the beginning, as also said, I could not exclude anything when it disappeared, creating this aura of shadow about him. But as my personal witness that I shared both with the FBI and the Congress, Mifsud is connected to the Western intelligence world, definitely Italian government, in MI6, and is professor also at the Link campus, known to be a spy school, training diplomatic and also foreign intelligence assets. How I ended up at the London Center. First of all, I want to make it clear that I've been working there only for 3 months, and as soon as the situation was becoming too shady, I resigned, and I asked Mifsud to delete my image from the website. So I took the distance quite quickly. I had more than a legitimate. Sorry, do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I had more than a legitimate position at the European Parliament. That's where my legitimate connection to the political world come from. Definitely, I never took part to any strange operation, and mostly I met George on April 2017, which is far after he was already done with the Trump campaign. So when people allege, including his family, that I could act as a Kremlin agent, I would like them to back up this allegation with my agenda, why I would jump in his life when all his work was already done, and what I'm still doing here, and why I'm Russian if I'm Italian 100%. So I'm dealing with a massive disinformation about me, trying to destroy me over reckless lies. There is nothing that can be grounded in any possible way. So I'm assisting to my character assassination because I saved my husband's reputation by my own in-laws mostly, because of course they are the one that in this context have more credibility, being his parents, right?
Right. So now, like, you were interviewed by the special counsel. Were
Yes.
you interviewed by Robert Mueller himself?
No, I was interviewed by two FBI agents at the headquarters in Chicago. As soon as my interview was over, they sent me a letter telling me that I was very helpful and I was, I never been accused of any wrongdoing by
Right.
the FBI. I was a witness, that's all.
Right. So people on Twitter and social media have been kind of using you as calling you a Russian spy, other names like that. What do you have to say to these critics on Twitter? First off, you're not from Russia. Second off, you've been interviewed by the special counsel, and here are no charges or anything coming from that. So what do you have to say to them?
I say that every speculation meets the limits of evidence. There is no evidence whatsoever I'm a Russian agent. If people want to feed this narrative, against any consistent evidence, they're losing credibility. I don't understand why they like it. Probably it could be a nice movie script, the Russian agent that came to marry Papadopoulos, but it's absolutely ungrounded. And as you notice that I passed the scrutiny of the FBI and the Congress. So there is nobody else in this country that has been checked for probably more than me as a foreign national.
So I mean, with that said, would you say you regret coming to America? I mean, you could have done this all from Italy or from wherever, technically. I mean, do you regret coming here and facing this kind of criticism?
Well, I never regret doing what I believe into. So in this extent, I don't regret it. The only thing it's really unfortunate and a disgrace is to be confronted with human nastiness. I mean, how people can be so low, how people can wish genuinely to see you bad, destroyed. And of course, there are moments in which I think about my life in Europe and I see myself as an accomplished professional, very well respected, and coming here to be reduced to this puppet I'm not, so this strange creature that doesn't reflect at all who I am, is painful, but I never regret to do things I believe into.
So when is George, your husband, when is he planning on going to jail? When is his jail sentence?
There are discussions right now, probably filing a motion from his lawyer, so I cannot give an accurate answer about it.
Would you say that you're concerned about the sentencing, or how do you feel about that?
Well, I feel that the judge chose the best option available under the circumstances. He clearly stated that he didn't think, not even 1 second, that George took part to any collusion scheme, because, of course, I mean, he didn't. He doesn't have any connection with Russia. This is all made up. But at the same time, so I appreciate that he gave the lightest sentence under the circumstances. But I think he doesn't deserve even 1 day in jail, legally wise.
So you've been very vocal on Twitter, as I was just saying, about this entire investigation. Kind of, I guess speaking for George in some instances. I wanted to know if you had received any warnings or anything from the special counsel kind of telling you not to speak out about what you were asked, not to speak out about the investigation. Have you received any contact like that?
Never.
Never?
I never been contacted directly. Probably his lawyers, George lawyers at the time, warned me that the special counsel was not happy about me being vocal on the media, but the special counsel office never reached out to me to communicate to me anything like that.
So I remember also you wanted George to be a little more aggressive in defending himself and not taking a plea deal. What are your thoughts on what happened from that?
Well, there is another perspective. I never agreed for him to plead guilty to this charge because I think he didn't lie to the FBI, misremember a date. So I already was vocal about him not accepting the plea. Then when I saw that evidence were coming up, and in particular exculpatory evidence, I suggest him to drop off the agreement and fight it on trial, because I believe in justice. I believe that everything has to be backed up by evidences. So I think George is very aggressive by himself right now in defending his case. My opinion at the time were simply legally based on my assessment of the legal case. I thought he could challenge easily this plea on trial.
How is your relationship with George right now, as you all are working through this?
Well, we love each other, but of course, yeah, we are a newlyweds couple facing an enormous amount of stress. We got married in the middle of a federal investigation. We are facing his family is working hardly to divide us, and probably it's not the best. The best condition to enjoy some sort of harmony.
And I'm sure a lot of people are curious. How are you providing for yourself since you can't work in this country yet? How are you living? How are you providing for yourself every day? Because obviously lawyer fees are expensive, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, fortunately, we have the support of Americans. GoFundMe is helping a lot, and it's very important in the moment. I am doing, for example, first, my family has been very supportive. We never received $1 from his family, but my family from Italy, simply to know their daughter alone in the United States, they send me constantly money in their means, of course. And I do my little modeling job with Italian brands until I can work here with my social security number.
Very nice. If there's, I guess, anything you could tell people, who have been criticizing you for the last couple months here, and your husband, what would you say to them now?
I would like to invite them to put themselves in my shoes before judging me. I came here without any agenda, without any gain to support the man I loved. I think they should focus on this aspect instead of judging me or criticizing me, because probably the image they have of me is different from what I really am. And I think they should be less judgmental and more thoughtful about expressing their opinions about the situation they don't know.
Now, Simona, the last question I have for you is, have you and George's in-laws had some complications in the past?
No, actually, his father never wanted to meet me, which is very strange, because when I came to Chicago after his arrest, his son was the one in deep trouble and living at his mother's house. I was having my beautiful life in Europe, and I came only to support him. And even on that occasion, he refused to meet with me for reasons that don't belong to. I escape my understanding. I mean, I can't understand how a parent would be so hateful without even getting the opportunity to know somebody. And when we look at my background, I'm not the worst person in the world.
Right. So do you have a message? Do you have a message to George's in-laws, if you could tell them something?
Well, my message is that unity is much stronger than division, and everybody in life, looking back, wants to leave a legacy of love and not disruption.
Well said. Simona.